Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 13.
Or Episode 35 if you're counting.
What's going on?
No. I was ready for you this time. What's going on in your world?
I don't know. I've been playing Pokemon and stuff. I don't know. And I just spend way too much time trying to level them up and catching more, and I've spent 20 hours in it and only have one badge. That's what's going on.
It took you 20 hours to get one badge?
No, it didn't take me 20 hours to get one badge.
Because that's sad if it took you that long to get one badge.
No, it didn't take me that long to get one badge. Getting the badge was quick and easy. Like, you don't understand. I have not moved forward because I've been too busy grinding, doing other things, and mini-gaming, and making sure I've caught everything before I've moved on. Like, if I see something, then I'm like, oh, I gotta catch it, but then I'll, like, accidentally kill it, or something. Or it'll accidentally kill itself sometimes. And then I'm like, well, I can't leave this area until I catch it. But then it's like, I don't see that Pokemon again for, like, another hour. So, what do? I just keep running around in circles, and I'm like, fine, okay, I'll just keep rotating my Pokemon team out, and make sure they all level up kind of sort of evenly. That's what's been going on.
Okay, that's a little bit more than I thought I was going to get out of you, but that's fine.
Well,
sure.
What did you expect?
Okay,
this obviously isn't going anywhere. I really want to talk about something else.
Okay, we'll talk about something else. We have a show.
It's got good stuff in it. I mean, that's all personal opinion. Your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary.
But it's gonna be great. We're gonna be talking about a lot of stuff. And stuff is good. For example, I'm gonna be talking about Valve's new console that they've been prepping for beta testing and everything, and you might be able to get in on beta testing if you're lucky.
I'm going to be talking about the recent update of the deal between Marvel and Netflix to produce 4 new series.
And to finally wrap it all up, it's finally the death of Blockbuster.
Oh,
the end of an era.
It's a sad, sad time.
It maybe.
Well, just in retrospect.
Okay, well,
which is really where we're coming at it from.
Okay, well, we don't want to talk about it just yet because that's our closing story.
Right. We've got a follow up.
We do?
Yes.
Tell me what it is.
Well, despite all the other follow-ups that we've done over past weeks, this one is something you're actually excited for.
Yeah, because it's hard to get me excited about anything.
Yeah, you were just talking about that earlier today about how nothing excites you anymore.
Yeah, well, and then this new story came up just today, and then I had to eat my words.
Thankfully, Episode 7, the next installment in the Star Wars universe, will officially be released on December 18th in 2015.
Alright, start prepping the costumes right now! I hope to get a Force Effects lightsaber by that time.
Well, yeah, you've got over 2
More than
years.
2 years.
A little over 2 years to prep what you're gonna do for this.
At the same time, I also sort of want to be prepping for the Star Wars Celebration.
Well, that's next summer, right? Or no, that's the same year.
No, that's the thing. That's the beauty of the Star Wars Celebration. It's lining up very nicely, nearly with the release of this movie. So that will be big old year in the Star Wars Celebration.
You're going to have to explain, because I know you had to explain this to me. Some people don't know what that celebration is.
Okay, the Star Wars Celebration only really comes around every couple of years, and it moves from place to place. Sometimes it's not even within the country. I always said, though, the next time a Star Wars Celebration comes up, I'm going to it. I really don't want to be made out to be a liar. I really don't. But next year, 2015, it's going to be at the Los Angeles Convention Center, I believe. And I'm trying to recall the exact date. It's on their website, whatever. But I want to go.
No, I understand.
I want to go real bad.
You have made it known how adamant you are about showing up at this event.
Well, yeah, because much like Star Trek events, like, you're not allowed to have Star Wars events that are not officially sanctioned by LucasArts or Lucasfilm.
Or now you mean Disney.
Or, excuse me, Disney.
Giraffe money. That's something I haven't said in a while, giraffe money. Well, we'll be bringing up giraffe money in a little bit, or lack thereof. But yes, what are you looking... Did you dress up at all for when the prequels came out?
No, the most that I did for episode 3, because that was the one that I actually, I had friends to go with. Like, we waited in line, though. Like, I had burned this CD, and we all were in the car. We all went and got, simple $20 Walmart, plastic cone lightsabers, okay? And we drove up to the theater, and the windows were rolled down, and I was just blank. And we had our lightsabers sticking out the windows, okay? And one friend of ours was standing in line, because this line went all the way outside the theater, wrapped around the theater, and, he brought chairs, a table, a TV, a GameCube, and one of those Naruto fighter games.
Oh, so this lets me know. Well, I know how long ago it was.
Yeah, you know how long ago it was.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the distinct difference between you and me, whereas you went to go camp out for episode 3, I vehemently made sure not to give any money towards episode 3.
Well, I sort of regretted it after watching it, because, the hype was amazing, and it was so cool to be amongst all those fans, because there were costumes, like, the best I had was that one Darth Vader shirt that I still have now. Yeah. I bought it specifically to go see episode 3, and it was just such a cool atmosphere, but you went in there, right? And, like, as soon as dude became Palpatine, and he came out with his forced, yes, good, laughter. Like, the whole theater was laughing. It was such an embarrassment. Like, I really regretted it.
Like, to contrast that, I think back on all of my viewings of the prequels in a movie theater, save, episode 3 because I didn't go. I remember being there in line to see episode 1. It was me, my brother, and my dad. My brother bought his X-Wing with him, because, he was younger than me. I had my Pepsi can that had, I think it was Obi-Wan on there, and the little... You remember those little chip things that came with the action figures, and they had that little communicator thing? I had that in the other hand, and we all went in there, and I was thoroughly convinced that I had seen a movie that day. I just didn't realize what. I remember I went to go see Attack of the Clones opening weekend that Saturday night, and there was nobody in the theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were me and my friends were the only ones in that theater.
What, it's like everyone heard how bad it was after opening night, and then nobody else was there.
And then I kept my word about episode 3. I did not pay money to go see it. Someone took it upon themselves to sit me down and make me watch it. And then everything I believed about that movie was proven true.
Well, like, I'm remembering the week that episode 1 came out, and I was in the 7th grade, and I remember our middle school being like, alright, we know episode 1's coming out. If any of you guys don't show up the day that it comes out, you're gonna have ISS, in school suspension, or Saturday school or something. Like this was a big deal, and
you'd think it was dang near Dragon Quest levels
You would think, like, my middle school was hardcore. Like, we had bars on the windows. Like, this was
my middle school had a drug problem.
Oh well, it was like over harshness for things that weren't really a problem at my middle school. And it was me and another classmate, and I knew I couldn't go that opening day, so we were both reading the novelization written by Terry Brooks together at the same time. The novelization is so much better than the actual movie. Oh my god.
Well, we'll see what happens come 2015, if we'll have robes, or you'll go ahead and sign up with the 501st like you always say you want to.
Yeah, I really don't necessarily want to be a Jedi, because, Jedi are cool and all, but it's like, sometimes a villain is cooler. Sometimes. Like, I don't actually want to be a bad person, but, playing a fictional bad person is kind of fun.
You want to play a fictional bad person who more than likely signed up for the healthcare. that the Empire was offering.
What, you mean like breathing apparatuses and...
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, you're just talking about, oh, I'm just here to do my job and for the health care and you know, I've got my 401k going on, and then one day I'm just shot.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
What good is that 401k now, huh, Stormtroopers?
Alright, let's get to the first story.
Alright. That having been said, yes, the first story is talking about Valve's...
Steampunk!
Oh, please, no.
Well, it's a machine powered by steam.
The world will be saved by Steam's steam machine. Valve's steam machine. Okay, there's a prototype that now exists. We see a picture of it, and it's a box. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. It's very boxy. And what's really great about all the news that's kind of come in about it over the last couple of days is also the discussion of how Valve wants to go ahead and beta test these machines.
Uh-huh.
And really, it's quite deceptively simple. It's really as simple as you go and you join Steve's... What am I reading?
Is Steve the guy running this project? Like, I have to
I'm pretty sure
I have to email Valve and ask for Steve.
I'm pretty sure I combined the words Valve and Steam.
So you got Steve.
And I got Steve.
Okay.
I'm now calling the Steam machine Steve.
Steve. Okay, got it.
Alright, so you have to join the Steam Universe community group and agree to the system hardware beta terms and conditions. No big deal. It's just one of those things you click and then you don't actually read. And then make 10 Steam friends. Like, that's really hard. Like, I've got 50 bajillion. And create a public Steam community profile, which, again, not exactly hard. I just live publicly. And then play a game using a gamepad in big picture mode. And that basically just means, you know, full screening and you're playing with an actual controller, one of your games that you've downloaded onto Steam. Like, all of these qualifications are not especially difficult. The only thing about it is that they're only going to be choosing 30, maybe less, people to beta test these machines.
That's very low.
Well, I mean, they're not going to just be handing out machines. Like, that seems ridiculous. And on top of that, they're being very selective about the people that they choose, about how they play their games. Like, they're going to be tracking how people have been playing their games throughout this course of beta selection process, and just how vocal you've been in the community, how helpful you look like you're going to be, basically.
How much potential Cheetos cheese dust you're actually going to get on their brand new controller, things like that.
Well, hopefully, I would assume, if I were Valve, I'm going to start slipping into Steve here in a second.
Okay.
If I were Valve, I would say, I want the person who's being the most careful and cares the most about the quality of our machine and not mucking it up with Cheetos cheese. Like, that would likely be me. I don't think I would be a very good candidate for this machine. I just want it once it's in peak condition, so that I may then muck it up with Cheetos cheese and pretzel salt.
And also the salt that falls off those Sour Patch straws.
Oh, yeah. Is that even salt, or is that... Oh, my mouth is watering.
Anyway...
What have you done?
I put you in the mode of what you would be eating while you game.
Oh, no.
Now, in conjunction with this system, they've also come out with this this prototype for their Steam controller.
Which looks awkward, and yet they're saying, no, this thing works friggin' sweet. I mean, it's gonna take giving me some use to really understand. But yes, there's no thumbsticks on this controller. There's 2 circular touch pads, and they're supposedly quite receptive.
I've heard it described that they feel like, basically like trackballs, but the texture somehow changes when you modify just how sensitive you make it. Thus accounting for how receptive this thing is to touch.
Which, I mean, you can understand, you can change the sensitivity of a mouse, for example, and I think that's probably what they were going for. And it's very important, especially to someone playing FPSs, that your mouse sensitivity is exactly where you are comfortable with it, or else you're moving too slow, or you're flying all over the place, and you just can't get a handle on where you're aiming. So I'm sure that's where these no thumbstick controllers are coming in. I'm really interested in this little center screen looking thing. I can't quite tell if that's a touch screen. Yes, it's a touch screen.
Yes, it is a touch screen.
Where it looks like you've got a settings button on top and a little chat window down at the bottom.
They've got this small picture here that shows what the setup would be like, say, if you were playing Portal 2. And basically it's got 4 little sections right here that you could touch that would basically mimic a button touch. Because it doesn't really have that many buttons,
It has an X, Y, and A and B buttons. X and Y on the left-hand side near the left circular non-existent nub, and A and B on the right-hand side next to its non-existent nub.
And then it's got 2 trigger buttons, but really they're referring to them as right mouse and left mouse.
Which makes sense because, I mean, it's primarily a machine with gamers, PC gamer sort of games in mind. That just makes plain sense to me. I mean, on top of that, apparently, from what I'm reading, there's going to be different levels of machinery when it comes to this machine. Like, different players' needs will vary, and different game production studios, their needs will vary. I assume, depending on just how much memory a game is going to take up, just how much RAM it's going to need to utilize as far as graphics are concerned, or how much open space it needs to load in a quick amount of time. So yeah, there's some basic hardware. I'm assuming that, the prototype has these certain specifications, although some apparently have different video cards from one another. Some have the NVIDIA Titan, some have the GTX 780, some have the GTX 760, and some with the GTX 660. Like, this just goes to show you either that they're trying to determine which one of these video cards works best,
or if it just works with all of them,
or if it's like a machine that you're going to be able to build or hardware swap, or they're going to release, like, it was kind of sounding like they were going to release different models for different players and different production needs.
Well, basically, the other thing
it's basically
too,
a computer. I mean, granted, that's what our consoles have been for a while now. But
well, really, specifically, I would say the 360 and now the Xbox One are built more like computers, but this kind of plays into that a little harder.
Well, that's, again, because this is primarily geared toward people who have been PC gamers and game production studios who have been building games for PC gamers.
Now these 30... Well, actually, no, you actually misquoted here. It's 300 people who will be testing this thing, not 30.
Well, I was reading a different article that says a small pool of 30 or fewer will be chosen.
Because I'm reading here off Kotaku, it says 300.
Okay, well... There's varying...
So anywhere between 30 to 300 people. Now these people...
difference.
These people that they're bringing in, they've been playing what Valve has been putting out, namely, their top titles, Left 4 Dead, Portal, Half-Life, what have you. Since they're building this machine, have they said anything about whether or not
it must be 300 because I'm seeing other articles that say such. But anyway,
but as such, has Valve said anything about what they're going to be testing with? Are they going to be playing these same games like Portal 2, Half-Life 2, or do they have something else cooked up for this thing?
I can tell you that the beta testers will include a copy. They will also receive a copy of Last Light. I don't actually know terribly much about it. But the beta testers, according to IGN, will be able to see how it holds up when playing a first-person shooter, regardless of whether or not they already have any FPSs in their Steam library. So, yeah, basically they want to see what an FPS looks like, so they're giving them a copy of Last Light. And again, I don't know very much about Last Light. I do know that most PC gamers and most FPS players will swear by a PC version because it is so much easier to FPS around using a mouse.
Basically for targeting's sake.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't stand playing, for example, Left 4 Dead on the Xbox 360 anymore. I can't.
See, by this point, I've gotten too used to using a controller in Left 4 Dead.
Well, I think if you changed the sensitivity of your mouse, you would be speaking differently. If you changed it to your own comfort settings. Which, again, just sort of leads back to this idea of changing the sensitivity of these recessed nubs in replacement of joysticks on this controller. Perhaps you might find that to be more comfortable, because it's some sort of balance between being a mouse and being a joystick.
Now, it may be a little bit too early to speculate on this, but just hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Now that they're getting into the market with this, coming out with this new machine, how do you see that affecting the big three, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft?
Hard to say. I think it'll do better than the Ouya. I think by far it'll do better
until
than
you
the
brought it up
Ouya.
right now, I wasn't even thinking about the Ouya.
Like, I don't even
Because the Ouya, you bring it up and it's like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that exists. like we have one friend who has it, and he's like, yeah, it's great for development purposes, and I'm like, so have you played any games on it? And he's like, Well,
that tells you everything you need to know right there.
Yeah. So I think it'll do far better in that regard. I think it will definitely have its place among typical PC gamers and typical PC developers. Like, Steam is an absolute success when it comes to PC gaming. There's Steam deals all the time when it comes to, purchasing new titles, or sometimes old titles. There's some fantastic bundles. There's just a Steam sale all the time. It's a complete success. So I feel as though publishers will start to find themselves going, hey, this is easy to develop for because it's just a PC, except we just have to worry about how it will function in the hands of gamers using a controller. And anyway, most PC games do have the capability of taking on a gamepad anyway. So, I don't necessarily think it's gonna, blow Sony and Microsoft out of the water just yet, because right now, PlayStation and Xbox are household names.
Mm-hmm.
Even if not every single person has one, people know what they are. But I think fewer people know what a Steam is.
But then again, you think about it in similar respects to their individual intellectual properties. Nintendo, people know Mario. Xbox, people know Halo. Sony, I guess, what would you say for Sony?
There was once a time where you could say Banjo-Kazooie. That was
I thought it was Crash Bandicoot.
It was kind of both.
Well, point being, as far as Valve goes as a company, they have notable titles, like people recognize Left 4 Dead. People recognize, to a certain extent, Half-Life. People know Portal. I see people, with Aperture shirts all the time.
Well, yeah, because, Portal became very much its own meme after quite some time. In fact, I just watched a video earlier this week about some ghost hunters somewhere who swore that, oh yeah, we totally have this location where we know that there's ghosts that really exist, and they left us this message on this chalkboard that says, the cake is a lie.
And they didn't know.
No, it's permeated, very quietly. But I think that if given enough time and dedication, and if Valve remains diligent in just making sure that there's upkeep and they don't get too far ahead of themselves, they don't sink themselves ahead of time, then eventually they can, have similar foothold with Microsoft and Sony.
Well, quite honestly, I think the easiest foothold they could have would just be releasing Left 4 Dead 3 on this thing first, if they ever get around to it.
If they ever get around to Left 4 Dead 3,
Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3.
And
that would be
Portal
great.
3. Well, basically anything in a 3.
I almost don't necessarily care if they make another Portal. It's kind of good where it is.
I enjoyed it enough to want to play another installment.
You haven't played the second one.
Well, at least the first one.
Yeah.
You need to let me borrow Portal 2.
You need to get your own copy of Portal 2 so we can do the 2-player together.
Fine.
That's the only reason why I say that. Otherwise, I'd say go right ahead.
If I must.
Now, had we purchased the console version, then we could have just played split screen. But nope, I purchased the PC version quite some time ago.
But you prefer it that way?
Yeah, because it's basically a shooter. Basically, even if what you're shooting are red portals and blue portals, and then 2 other colors now for Portal 2.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and let's talk price here for a second. How much is this thing gonna cost when it sees production?
Have they even talked about that? Like, actually, I see this as being fairly affordable, especially if it's looking like you can pick and choose your hardware. I'm sure there will be cheaper versions, and I'm sure there will be more expensive versions.
Well, they've got some price projections here over on Kotaku. They say anywhere between... Well, this is kind of high even for me. I mean, well, why would I say even for me? You know, I'm just a regular college student, but, you know, $880 and up. That's pretty...
That's kind of getting close to a gaming PC as it is.
Is that really where they mean for this to go, is very much in the PC price range?
God, I hope not, because that really won't do anything for me. I may as well just build a PC, and then I can do whatever I want on it. Including playing games.
So...
With or without a controller.
So then, being able to customize it would cost more.
Well, it could cost more, or it could cost less.
But even at the less, that's the low end, what they're quoting there is $880.
Yeah.
And that's still... Like, how many PS3s can I get for that price?
Pushing 3.
Pushing 3, right?
Pushing 3.
That's too much.
Well, how many PS3s can you get for that price? Almost 4.
Now,
Now with price drops, yeah. See, I was thinking PS4 prices and that. Oh, no.
I was just keeping it current gen.
Well,
just for my
current
own
gen is just about to become last gen. Like, within a month.
Well, right. But even then, just to keep it in perspective.
Uh-huh.
But still, that's a bit much. This thing would have to be pretty impressive. Like, I need to see some demo play. Like
Well, that's exactly what we're probably going to get with all these beta testers, these 300 beta testers.
So, as of next year, we'll be able to see what this thing's really capable of.
Yeah, and it better be impressive. I also doubt that it will be that much in the end. I really do. I know they're saying that now because that's the price of the hardware at this moment in time.
Refresh my memory, when Sony came out with the PS3 initially, how much was it again?
$599 US.
$599 US, and who was playing that immediately?
The Sony fanboys.
Other than the Sony fanboys.
And rich parents who get their kids everything that they want.
But you waited.
Yeah, I waited a very long time because it was years before I was convinced that the PS3 had a library that I wanted. And in fact, I didn't even get it until there was a Japanese game that I wanted to play, and the PS3 is region-free.
Great. That's what it took.
Yeah. It took a lot of coaxing for me to want to get a PS3, even after price drops.
So, in accordance with, what you just described here, 1, it's got to be about price. This thing's got to be reasonably priced. 2, what you have to worry less about is a reliable library for this thing. What would be a third thing that would convince you to get this Steam machine?
I don't know, if they sent fresh-baked cookies along with it, I mean, that would be pretty sweet.
Or that cake.
Which cake? The one that's been lied about?
Yeah.
The one that I would rather not quote as a meme because I don't think it's funny? I mean, if there was actually some cake there, I mean, that would be pretty good. Yes, that would be good, Josh.
Okay, so it takes at least those 3 things. Should this thing actually make production, that's what it'll take for you to buy it.
Or maybe, them sending me on a trip to go see their machine, too. Like, if the trip was free, maybe I would buy the machine there.
But if they're already taking you on a trip there, wouldn't they just give you a machine?
Not necessarily.
I'm just saying.
Well, you don't know how Valve works. I don't know how Valve works. I don't work there.
Alright, well, I guess we'll have to wait.
Fine.
Fine.
Start waiting.
All right.
Get started.
Go.
Go.
Yeah, okay. And that's this story. Okay, so moving on to our second story.
Phew.
Just earlier today, Marvel and Netflix came out with this agreement that they have to produce 4 new live-action series to be put on Netflix. The properties that they're going to be using are Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage. And the idea here is to have all of these 4 series combine to an event they're going to call the Defenders. Mm-hmm. And this merger was hinted at a couple of months, or not even a couple of months ago, maybe about a month ago, that Marvel was shopping out this idea to people. Well, now we see who's taking the bait, and it's Netflix. Now, right now, Netflix is in a prime spot as far as programming is concerned, because they've been making waves with their programming, like Hemlock Grove, House of Cards.
I was gonna say, like, Netflix has been doing pretty well for itself by making television that's not on television, and it's even, what, is it up for Emmy nominations?
Yes, House of Cards got Emmy nods in its first season. And they have this thing where, and hopefully they'll do it with these series, is that they shoot the whole thing and then they put the whole thing out in one chunk. Like, you don't have to wait week by week to watch this thing. Like, you can marathon 13 episodes if you want right from the get-go. Because they realize that's the model that people were using Netflix for. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I want to burn through Torchwood. Okay, I can burn through Torchwood. Hey, I want to catch up on House. I can burn through House. Hey, I want to watch, Duck Dynasty. I can burn through Duck Dynasty. What have you. People want to burn through stuff. And this, again, I've been saying it, and I will say it again, this is the proof. Marvel is just putting their foot further on the neck of DC when it comes to making these business decisions. Because whereas DC is trying to, get that foothold back with Arrow and introducing the Flash and trying to develop Wonder Woman, here comes Marvel again. Boom, we're making deals. Here's 4 more out of this chute.
It's really making DC kind of seem like the slackers when it comes to the quote-unquote competition.
Well, yeah, because Marvel's got their stuff together. They make plans, and then they execute said plans.
I don't necessarily like every last little thing that Marvel does, but,
And the thing to keep into account, which is something that gives me a lot of hope here, is that these shows will be produced by Marvel Television in association with ABC Television Studios. Meaning, more than likely, we should be able to see some crossover between these shows and the universe of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and thereby Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So
it's all the one big universe people have been asking for.
So basically, they're creating, I'm trying to think of exactly the best way of phrasing it. Marvel Comics is sort of an in-house sort of, if you're in the know, then you're in the know, and if you don't know, then you're kind of left out in the dust.
Well, really, that's comic books at large nowadays.
Well, now they're creating the exact same kind of atmosphere, but for television and movies. For live-action media, is what I'm saying. Like, if you're not in, if you don't get in at a certain point, or with a certain series, then you're gonna be confused, or you're not gonna understand, and then somebody's gonna have to leave some little note down in the corner of the screen saying, see episode 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to understand this reference we're making.
Well, not necessarily, because here we're starting fresh with characters they haven't tackled yet.
But look how big it's getting. Just look at how big this umbrella is. And then you see, even in the movies alone, these little nods to other movies within the Marvel franchise that, for example, I haven't seen any of the X-Men movies aside from,
First Class.
First Class. I haven't seen any of the initial 3 X-Men movies, nor any of the Wolverine movies.
Admittedly,
I don't care to either.
Admittedly, out of the two of us, the only one I haven't seen yet is the Wolverine, but I'm waiting for that one to come out and rent it. Personal reasons. Point being, you look at as a whole, despite, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Spider-Man being, as far as movies go, Fox properties, really, Marvel has got how many characters out in the ether right now? How many properties? We've got like I just said, Spider-Man, the X-Men, also counting Wolverine, Fantastic Four, and then you count, the actual cinematic universe of, all the Avengers, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and then, the upcoming ones with Guardians of the Galaxy, and now Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and now Daredevil again, and now Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and all these other ones. Like, look how many characters you've got out there since 2008. In this short amount of time, count it, 2008 to now, at least, 10 plus characters out there, individual properties. DC is still struggling with Batman and Superman and kind of Green Arrow.
Kind of Green Arrow.
Kind of Green Arrow, because he's not exactly Green Arrow.
And it seems like they have only started getting serious recently by saying, hey, there are some other supers in this universe. I mean, I know we didn't necessarily originally want to go there, but this was the only way you guys were going to watch, isn't it? Yeah, that was the only way you guys were going to watch.
And that's exactly how you see it being played out. Because, while they're still struggling to say, well, maybe we'll make a Wonder Woman movie, maybe we won't, we are getting all this. Like, here's the people who were complaining about, the whole Ben Affleck playing Batman thing because he was already Daredevil. Now you can shut up because there's going to be a fresh Daredevil. You didn't like the story before? Hey, I didn't like the story much either. Here's a chance for redemption.
Good, a new Daredevil because the old Daredevil is moving on to be Batman. Can everybody shut up now?
Yes.
Can everybody just shut up now?
Everybody shut it, alright? Let's let that drop. And I guess now we can go into this whole thing of, well, if we don't have any familiarity with these characters, let's do a quick brush-up. Daredevil, there was already a movie. There's a good enough fan base for Daredevil, Matt Murdock gets blinded as a kid, develops these superhuman senses, so he's blind but not really blind.
He's the blind man with the power of sight.
The man without fear. And basically,
that's what I said, the blind man with the power of sight.
Yes. And then we've also got Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Now, according to this story, they are both going to individually have their own series.
Uh-huh.
However, it's worth noting that they work together a lot of the time as heroes for hire. They hire out their powers to whoever needs them, and most of the time they're kind of like, maybe we won't take the money after all because we're the good guys.
Uh-huh.
And they've been more and more out in the ether. They've been seen in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Right now on Ultimate Spider-Man, they're younger, but they're there right along Spider-Man. And then we've got a lot of regulars wouldn't know it all, Jessica Jones. And Jessica Jones basically is a private eye who eventually develops this relationship with Luke Cage. Mm-hmm. And basically all these characters know each other. They inhabit the same universe, and that's what they're keeping to with this deal. And eventually...
Well, by this point in Marvel's history, yeah, I would say that most of the supers are at least aware of one another anyway.
And they've all got this rich history together, and as such, together, all of these series combined will create this TV-sized version of the Avengers called the Defenders. And the Defenders, as far as the comics go, are a legitimate group of, the offshoots of people who aren't already in the Avengers currently. And they've had anybody in there from Namor to Doctor Strange to the Hulk and a bunch of these other guys, and also these guys too, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, what have you. So, that's definitely showing domination on two fronts. You've got the Avengers, the biggest box office draw, what is it, third biggest all time?
I want to say, yeah.
And now we're going to have the TV version of it set up even better, because instead of having 2.5 hours to learn about a person and care about this person, you've got a series to learn about and care about this character, their world, and then you do that 4 times, and then you combine those 4 things together into a miniseries event.
But see, you gotta have some legit dedication to this universe. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. That much in the same way you have to have dedication to this universe when it comes to the comics, people are gonna have to get that way about a broad scope of TV series and movies as well, when the majority of the American populace can only stand to sit and watch one singular, thing all on its own.
But you look at it at the same time, we're getting, regulars coming in and becoming fans of these, when you think about it, very nerdy, shows, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like Supernatural, like Game of Thrones. You know, they're coming in and they're becoming fans.
Well, it's because I think a lot of it, in the case of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah, there's supernatural stuff going on, but none of the characters are super anythings. They're just dudes.
Well, that's the draw of that particular series.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, normal, average Joe people can just kind of look at them like they're some crazy sort of not really FBI.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so, like, what I'm saying is that people can watch just that show and not need to know anything about the rest of the outside Marvel universe. In the case of all these other little things, like, it's probably best that you do.
But that's the reason they're getting series, because now people who don't know about them can learn about them. You don't know anything about...
For what purpose?
For creating this whole nother aspect of the Marvel universe. I don't think we can even call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since it's connected to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now we just call it, like the Marvel live-action universe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you go from here, and you're going to learn about, oh, so this is who Matt Murdock is, this is who Danny Rand is, this is who Luke Cage is, oh, this is who I don't even know who this Jessica chick is, but I'm learning about her, I'm going to care about her, I care what happens to her and her family, all this turmoil she goes through. Like, that's the whole purpose of a series. Some things work better in movies, other things work better as a series. Like, you mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. When they first showed the preview for the pilot, you see this black guy, in tattered clothes, showing super strength and jumping out of a building. I thought, and many other people, thought that was Luke Cage. And we were like, hell yeah! This is going to be the chance to introduce, these Marvel characters that I know about. And then we get to the first episode, and what happens? He's not Luke Cage, he's just some throwaway guy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, up until current, as of this week, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of falling short in that category. It's like, okay, I get it, you're having to establish this team, Coulson and his cronies, but we're still waiting for a little bit more than just Sam Jackson showing up for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
we want
which
some other...
they probably blew all their budget on Sam Jackson for 30 seconds. Maybe that's why we're not seeing any others, because they were like, we don't know what to do, somebody bring in Sam Jackson.
Well, yeah, even then, his lines seemed very... Like, okay, here's the gist of what we want you to say, alright, go at it. And then he did it.
Uh-huh.
Whereas here, Marvel makes a smart decision, Netflix makes a smart decision. Netflix, you're hot right now. We want to give you the chance to jump on these 4 properties. Netflix is like, hey, we're making waves right now. Teaming up with Marvel only makes us more powerful. Because what am I talking about again? Giraffe money. Marvel's got the giraffe money to infuse Netflix with. Netflix has the pull right now. Because Netflix, you don't have to worry about all the stipulations you would have with network television. You can curse, you can show other things that you wouldn't necessarily. It's easier to get to than having to sign up for friggin' HBO and Showtime. Because you don't have to go through a dang... Well, I guess you do have to go through a cable provider, kind of. But you see what I'm saying
Yeah,
here.
somewhat, yeah.
It'll be out there to digest. Netflix, you can get it on your dang phone, your 3DS. You can watch it anywhere now. And that makes it easier for it to get out there and for people to learn about these characters.
Technologically, challenged parents are able to Netflix now.
My dad barely learned about Netflix this past month, and he is addicted.
He wouldn't stop Netflixing while I was over there eating a meal, and then your mom was making fun of him, and then he started waving his arms behind her head, making fun of her in return, while he continued to stare down at his tablet screen.
Like, you know how many... I lost count of how many times he's watched Captain America. Like, he loves that movie.
Well, good. He's made a good choice.
Yeah. And, see, that's the kind of thing. People will get attached to these characters. People will learn about Daredevil again, and they won't have to worry about, past renditions of it. People will learn about these characters, and this is great. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with these, because I've watched a little bit of Hemlock Grove. I'm still watching House of Cards. They're putting out some excellent quality programs, and this will only force them to put out excellent quality programs that also happen to come from this comic background. So we're going to see in 2015 when this launches just how strong they get, because I remind you that's the same year they're going to be releasing Avengers 2.
And Star Wars.
And Star Wars, yes, we can't forget. But really, that's going to be a big...
They're both in the Disney umbrella!
Yeah, which means Disney's gonna have too much giraffe money. Like, the giraffes will have giraffe money.
The giraffes can buy more giraffes.
Yes.
They don't have to have their own babies. They can just buy another country's well-bred baby.
Yes.
Giraffe.
Just like movie stars over here.
That's what I was getting
Because they've
at,
got
yes.
that kind of money.
We really have to hurry up and get to the final topic because
Alright,
we don't
but yes.
have enough time to talk about the final topic now.
Okay, so the final topic, it's a little bittersweet. It's not like we didn't see it coming. I'm gonna go ahead and start playing taps, you tell them.
Coming straight from AnimeNewsNetwork.com, Blockbuster to shut last U.S. video rental stores and DVD by mail. Okay, you can stop. Quite frankly, for me, this is... Yay! Good job! Good job, Blockbuster. Good for you. Like... Good night, sweet prince. Like,
That's more where I'm coming from with it, because, yeah, we live in a time period, like, there was I think it was last year, South Park made the episode making fun of how nobody goes to Blockbuster anymore, with Stan's dad trying to buy one, and just nobody was showing up, and then, everybody else is using Netflix and whatnot.
we still had another Blockbuster, maybe 2 left in town somewhere.
We had one left, I think, out on 1604, and that's it.
Like, is it still there? Like, can we go out there and
No,
buy...
they're gonna shut it down.
No, I know they're going to, but is it still there so that I can, like, buy their shelving units for 2 cents?
Oh,
Like,
well, maybe, yeah.
Like, because I kind of want in on those sweet, give me what you don't want anymore deals.
Well, yeah, because they'll probably be selling everything they can to make the last bit of money they can off of this thing.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, the brand is now owned by Dish Network, and they still have a form of streaming online as Blockbuster On Demand, but it's no replacement for what...
Yeah, who uses that? Who uses Blockbuster On Demand? I don't know a single person, and it's gonna just be the day when we put this podcast out, and everyone who listens is like, hey, I use Blockbuster On Demand. I don't even know what Netflix is. The previous article you guys were talking about made no sense to me at all whatsoever.
Yeah, sure,
And
that guy will show up.
they will every listener. That will be every listener.
Well,
just because I said who uses Blockbuster On Demand. Because I don't know one person who has ever claimed
No, I
to
don't
use
either.
it.
I'm trying to remember what tried to make me sign up for it, and I was like, you're funny.
Or the funny part where Blockbuster thought they could be Redbox.
Yeah, that's part of what it was. Like, hey, if you sign up for this, you can have, $3 free rental at a Blockbuster kiosk. And I'm like, you're funny. You're really funny.
Like,
But
because Blockbuster got in on the alternate versions of getting movies to people too late. Especially the Redbox, their kiosk system, Blockbuster's kiosk system, too late. Redbox was already kicking their asses by that point.
Blockbuster On Demand, bump that. Netflix is already on it.
And Hulu in comparison as well. I mean, they've got some TV selections too that you can't go to Netflix for. It's like, what are you gonna do, Blockbuster? You had an opportunity at a certain point when these other things were starting to crop up, and you were like, nah, people will keep coming back to us.
Which is the same joke that they make in the South Park episode.
Is it? I haven't seen that episode, so
remind me to show that to you.
So plainly, this was an
let's-
obvious set of
But let's
events.
go ahead and put this in context. Like, people will clown on Blockbuster not being smart enough to survive, and now we're seeing its downfall, but respect it, alright? If it wasn't for Blockbuster, a lot of people, and I stand by this, a lot of people listening to this podcast are just out there right now as nerds, wouldn't be who they are if it wasn't for the capability to rent some title back when we were kids that got us into the thing we were into.
You know what? Yeah, it's like, oh, Blockbuster, I remember the days where you didn't have a clue that animation wasn't all a children's medium. You just didn't know, and then came the day that I came home with Evangelion, and you didn't know any better. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, like, I remember walking through the aisles of my local Blockbuster that was just, 5 blocks from my house, and they had the Care Bear... No, they had Gumby, and right next to Gumby was the Guyver. Like the animated manga release Guyver.
Oh, wow, really? Not, like...
Like, not too... Like, on the same shelf, like, maybe one VHS in between them.
Because I dare
of the
say
Guyver.
that OVA is way more wicked than the movie that came out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember being, like that was, I think, part of what got me into anime at a young age, because I wasn't more than 5 or 6 walking by it, and I'm like, this thing looks scary, but why do I think it looks so cool? And I wouldn't find out for years.
Oh, I was gonna say, you didn't see that as a 5-year-old.
Oh, hell no, I didn't watch that until high school. My parents wouldn't let me rent that. What, are you kidding?
So your parents knew better than all cartoons or
Well, it's not so much that they knew any better, they just thought, oh, this looks too scary for you. We're not gonna let you rent that.
Right.
That's what high school's for, and friends with, VHS copies of the Guyver are for.
Yeah. See, that was how some friends of mine and myself went through a whole bunch of Tenchi, too. Mm-hmm. Like, Blockbuster rentals, and they were like, you don't like anime? Here, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch the Tenchi movie. Now, granted, like, this was the first Tenchi movie, and I really hadn't watched much of any Tenchi at all before, and I was like, man, I really don't understand. I don't have a clue what's going on.
Like, I don't want to be the old fogey here, but it's like, you youngins don't know. Like, when we wanted to watch something, we had to beg somebody to take us to Blockbuster, use our allowance money, and then for, 3-day rentals, and then if you had that kind of scratch, 5-day rentals, you could marathon Thing.
Or you remember the days when Blockbuster didn't have a clue how much time it actually took to play a video game?
Oh, jeez.
Same old 3-day rental
Hell
system.
no.
When, like, here I am renting, I think, Final Fantasy VIII.
Uh-huh.
Right? And, like, 3-day rental? No. This is, like, a 60 to 80 hour game.
Like, me trying to rent Super Metroid?
I rushed to disc 3. I rushed myself into disc 3 and I still didn't beat it. And I especially didn't beat it because I rushed there and I didn't get everything that I needed to beat the game. And so my mom was like, here, I'll rent it for you again. And I was like, okay. So I tried to continue from where I last saved. But you know what? I couldn't beat it because I had rushed through it before previously. And I had to start all over again. So thanks, Blockbuster. Respect my ass.
But point being, there was a point to Blockbuster. When we didn't have anything else, we had that.
Well, now we don't even have that.
Well, yeah, because what made Blockbuster the powerhouse that it did was they had a monopoly on the media.
Well, then it eventually came to a point where it was competing with Hollywood Video, at least in my area.
Well, they did, but they trumped Hollywood Video.
Yeah, it was Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, and I don't even know if you know what a Hastings is.
I think they have them in other states, but not really around here. I never saw a Hastings.
It's in New Braunfels. It's next to... Not the movie theater that you laugh at, but the other movie.
Walnut?
Yeah, but not that one. The other one that's fairly new-ish.
I got nothing.
Oh, okay, well, whatever. There's Hastings, okay? There's a Hastings in San Marcos as well. I don't know why they're still
good
around.
For them.
I don't know how they still live. Like I don't even know how, but they do. Now, granted, for me, it was even more difficult with Blockbuster because, I lived 45 minutes away from a Blockbuster. And yet, on a good day, my parents would be like, you know what, let's go to Blockbuster. So for me, it was like, yay! Because there was a video rental place in Canyon Lake, but it was this shabby, like, whatever the lady could afford to purchase herself sort of a place, and, like, there wasn't much there. So going down to Blockbuster was like, oh, this place is the powerhouse, stocked full of movies beyond all reason. Like, yeah. That was the place at the time. Not so much now.
No, because I have fond memories of, marathon renting, like, for me specifically, like, the Mask animated series, like, the 2 VHSs they had out of that, back then, because that's all we had, was those couple of VHSs of Power Rangers, Blank Man, Mystery Men. Like, I would rent the hell out of those. Mm-hmm. And that part of being able to do that made me who I am now. Because I had, that capability, I, had parents who cared enough to let me not be supervised by anything other than a television and make me the nerd I am today.
Well, congratulations.
I can live for myself now.
Congratulations.
You won.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Squawk, squawk.
Congratulations.
So,
good night, Blockbuster.
It was nice knowing you. You and your brightly lit yellow and blue neon sign.
In New Braunfels, you even had a water fountain.
Yours had a water fountain?
That might have been the Jack in the Box next door. I'm
not.
You're
really probably
sure.
Thinking of the Jack in the Box.
I don't know why the Jack in the Box had a water fountain, but,
I don't think I would necessarily drink the water from a Blockbuster. And just to stick it to them one last time, I hate to do that. You remember how much they would freaking upcharge for snacks at the counter?
I sure do. But where else was I gonna get snow caps?
You and your dang addiction to snow caps.
Because snow caps are really just chocolate chips with some snow. It's not real snow.
I held out for Whoppers. That was my snack of choice.
We better wrap this up, alright?
Okay.
So, I want to thank you guys for listening. Also want to remind you, because we keep forgetting to talk about it at the top of the hour, that we are in fact brought to you by Swag Expo, the Southwest Animation and Gaming Expo, taking place in January 2015. Go to swagexpo.com to find out more information and find out how you can pre-register, and I'm still really excited about one particular guest that I really can't tell you about
I actually know who she's talking about now, and I get why she's so excited, so stay tuned. When we get the chance, we will tell you.
I will tell you when I can tell you, and then I will proceed to tell you.
Yes.
Until then, we better be signing off, and again, remember, you can follow us at any time on Twitter. I'm at MarsGirlProd.
And I'm at Josh Knight First.
So, thanks again for listening, and take care, you guys.
We'll see you next week on Beyond the Black Rims.